Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome back. Get excited because today we are going to have a celebration. We're going to talk about cell structures and their functions. So let's celebrate, and science rocks.
It is super important for you to create a biology notebook. Whether it's online in Google Drive or straight up old school spiral notebook, take notes. Take notes and draw pictures as you follow along. Go ahead and copy down these 32 vocab words. They go in ABC order like this. Remember to come back later and create your own definitions of these words. Use your own words, y'all. Draw pictures, label the cell organelles, or even use a funny app like ChatterPix or Shadow Puppets and make the picture of the cell tell you what it is. Go ahead and pause this if you need to finish writing down the terms. So, all living organisms are made up of microscopic, teeny tiny structures called cells. There are many types of cells, including plant cells and animal cells. Cells consist of many smaller structures that each perform different functions. Some cell structures are enclosed in their own membranes. Because they perform functions for cells, much like organs perform functions for the body, these membrane-bound structures, like mitochondria or the nucleus, are called organelles. Organelles. In your biology notebook, I'd like for you to create a cell organelle table. You are going to need 19 rows and 4 columns. You can go ahead and fill in these headers up top. And you can fill in the names of the organelles and the information as we go along. So pause this and create the outline for your table. On the table, you noticed a column titled Prokaryotes or Eukaryotes or both. So what does that even mean? I always remember it as pro equals no and you carry a nucleus or other membrane-bound organelles. Prokaryotic cells are super simple. They have no nuclei, they are unicellular, they are made up of just one cell. They are things like eubacteria and archaebacteria, and they're super small. Eukaryotic cells are much more complex. They have lots of organelles. They are multicellular. They're made up of many cells. They are like protista, fungi, plants, and animal cells. So notice the size difference of these. Okay, so back to your table. Write down cell/plasma membrane. You can call it the cell membrane or you can call it the plasma membrane. The function and location will go under that next column together. So you can find the cell membrane surrounding the cell, and its main function is for protection and selective permeability. So it lets certain items into and out of the cell. If we were to imagine the cell as a miniature city, this organelle would be like the city limits. It controls what goes in and out of the city. In this top picture, the cell membrane would be like the outer purple layer. And if you were to blow that up under a crazy high-powered microscope, you will see that the cell membrane consists of many different parts. One being these proteins that transport particles into or out of the cell. Under the prokaryotic, eukaryotic, or both column, go ahead and write both. Both types of cells have a cell membrane. And under the plant or animal or both column, you can also write both. Both the plant and animal cell will have a plasma membrane. So you can pause on each slide and finish writing in the content if I go too fast. Your next organelle for your table will be the cell wall. The location is outside of the cell membrane, so it's going to surround the cell membrane. The function is for support and protection. It would be like the outer brick wall around your pretend city. Both eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells could have a cell wall. and just plant cells, okay, not animal cells. If you look at a leaf under a compound light microscope, you can actually see the cell wall, which is pretty cool. Next is the centriole. Its location is in the cytoplasm. Its function is for cell division. So when we get to the topic of mitosis, it helps with that cell division, pulling the cell apart. And just in eukaryotic cells, animals and most protists, and only in animal cells, not in plant cells. The chloroplast. The location is in the cytoplasm. Function is to capture light energy and produce food, and it contains the chlorophyll. Just in eukaryotic cells and just in plant cells, not animal cells. So, in your pretend city, this would be like the solar power plant. It uses the sun's energy to produce power for the city. Looking at a leaf underneath a microscope, you can see these little green organelles. They're these little green guys. And if you were to look at just one of those chloroplasts, you'll notice that there's even smaller parts inside of them as well. All right, chromatin. Its location is in the nucleus or in the cytoplasm in prokaryotes. Its function is the genetic code. It passes traits to offspring. So it's kind of like the city auditor in your city. It stores all of the records of the city and it passes them on as the city grows. It's in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, and it can be found in both plant and animal cells. So inside this nucleus, it's like the spaghetti stuff. And if you wind it all up, it'll form that DNA double helix, which, is condensed into chromosomes. Next is cilia. Its location is on the cell outer surface, so it's this little hair-like stuff. Its function is for locomotion and feeding, and it can be found in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, but just animal cells, not plant cells. The cytoplasm, you'll hear about this a lot. Its location is inside the cell, so it's this lighter green color inside the cell. Its function, it suspends organelles, so it's the watery substance that everything floats in inside the cell. It's going to be in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, in both plant and animal cells. Cytoskeleton. Its location is in the cytoplasm. Its function is for structure and support. So there's microtubules that are thin, hollow proteins. Think tubes are hollow. And microfilaments are thin, solid proteins. Think fill. They're filled. They're solid. You can find cytoskeleton in just eukaryotic cells and also both plant and animal cells. The endoplasmic reticulum, or a lot of times abbreviated as the ER. Its location is in the cytoplasm. There's a smooth ER without ribosomes on it, and something called a rough ER with ribosomes. And these little dots here in the picture would be the ribosomes. So that would be a picture of rough ER. Its function is transport substances throughout the cell and cellular chemical reactions. So in your make-believe city, it would be like the road system. It allows for movement throughout the city. You're going to find endoplasmic reticulum in just eukaryotic cells, both plant and animal cells. The flagella, its location is on the cell outer surface. It's this long whip-like structure. Its function is for locomotion and feeding. It's like the cilia, but obviously a different structure. You're going to find it in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, but just animals, not in plant cells. Golgi apparatus or Golgi body. Its location is in the cytoplasm. Its function is to modify proteins and sort them into packages. So in your city, it would be like the post office. Just in eukaryotic cells, both plant and animal cells can have a Golgi apparatus. Lysosomes, the location is in the cytoplasm. Its function is digests substances. So, this is your food processing plant in your cell city. It processes large quantities of food entering the city into smaller packages that can be used more easily. I also envision lysosomes like Pac-Man, eating up all the things. So, in prokaryotic, eukaryotic, or both column, it's just found in eukaryotic cells and can be found in both plant and animal cells. The mighty mitochondria. Its location is in the cytoplasm. Its function is to produce energy in the form of ATP. So, this is your city's power company. It produces energy for the cell or for the city. It's just in eukaryotic cells and can be found in both plant and animal cells. The nuclear envelope, its location is around the nucleus. Its function, it has these pores through which ribosomes and DNA pass into the cytoplasm. It can be found in just eukaryotic cells and both plant and animal cells. The nucleolus, it's actually inside the nucleus. Its function is to make ribosomes. This is your cell's city planning office. It's a place in the city hall where plans are made for the construction of the city because these ribosomes it makes will be doing some major things in the cell. You're going to find them in just eukaryotic cells and in both plant and animal cells. The boss, the nucleus. Its location is near the center of the cell in the cytoplasm. Its function, it controls the cell. It's the leader. This is the city hall, y'all. It controls all the activities in the city. You can find it in just eukaryotic cells. Remember, you carry a nucleus. And both plant and animal cells will have a nucleus. Plastid, its location is in the cytoplasm. Its function is for extra storage. You're going to find a plastid in just eukaryotic cells and in just plant cells, not animal cells. Ribosomes, its location can just be floating in the cytoplasm or on the rough ER, like in this picture. Its function is to make proteins. So this is the cell city's construction company. They build structures for the city. So they're making things like proteins. You're going to find ribosomes in both eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells and in both plant and animal cells. And finally, vacuoles. Its location is in the cytoplasm and its function is for temporary storage. So this is like the cell's warehouse. It stores materials needed by the cell but for later use. I also tend to think of it as a vacuum, like it sucks up the extra stuff. You're going to find vacuoles in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, and they're going to be in both plant and animal cells, but they're going to be bigger in the plant cells. They've got this central vacuole. So, there's your cell organelle table. Okay, so surface area plays a huge role for cells. If you have a larger surface area, you can have more reactions that can take place in them, right? So, for example, the folded cristae membranes of the mitochondria greatly increase the surface area of that inner membrane where something called cellular respiration takes place. So, as a result, each mitochondrion can produce more ATP because it's all folded up, so it's a greater surface area. So it's more energy for the cell. Also, when an object is divided, the combined surface area of the resulting objects will be greater than the surface area of the original object. This is one of the reasons that the body cells divide once they grow to a certain size. Cell division results in two cells that have the same total volume as the original cell, but have a larger combined surface area. Brilliant. In terms of cell organization, these are the levels in order from smallest to largest. So the smallest would be the atom, then molecules, then macromolecules, then organelles, which are what we just talked about, then cells, which are the functional units of all living organisms and are considered the basic building blocks. Next would be tissues, which are composed of many cells that work together to perform a specific function. There are several types of tissues like connective tissue and muscle tissue. Then we have organs. Organs are composed of several tissues and perform one or more functions in the body. The human body is made up of many organs, including the heart, lungs, and liver. Even more complex would be organ systems. Organ systems are groups of related organs that work together to perform a function or set of functions. There are actually 11 major organ systems in the human body, including respiratory, reproductive, digestive, skeletal, muscular systems. And lastly, you would have the whole organism. The whole organism is composed of all of the various organ systems. Its functions are carried out by cooperation between all of these systems. Like I mentioned before, there are 11 major organ systems in the body. The nervous system consists of two parts. The central nervous system consists of the brain and spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system includes all the other nervous tissue. The nervous system gathers, interprets, and responds to information about the body's internal and external environment. The circulatory or cardiovascular system is composed of the heart, arteries, veins, and capillaries. It is responsible for transporting blood to and from the lungs. The main structures of the respiratory system are the trachea, the windpipe, the lungs, and the diaphragm. The digestive system is responsible for taking in food, digesting it, to extract energy and nutrients that the cells can use. And the skeletal system is made up of over 200 bones. It protects the body's internal organs, provides support for the body, and gives it shape. And it works with the muscular system to move the body. In addition, bones can store calcium and produce red and white blood cells. The muscular system includes more than 650 tough, elastic pieces of tissue. The primary function of any muscle tissue is movement. This includes the movement of blood through the arteries, the movement of food through the digestive tract, and the movement of arms and legs. The excretory system removes excess material, dangerous substances, and other waste materials from the body. The human excretory system includes the lungs, sweat glands, and the skin, and the urinary system, so the kidneys and the bladder. The endocrine system is involved with the control of body processes, such as fluid balance, growth, and sexual development. It controls these processes through hormones. The immune system defends the body against foreign invaders. It uses antibodies in specialized cells, such as T cells, to defend the body from microorganisms that cause disease. The reproductive system includes structures that allow humans to produce new offspring. It also controls certain hormones in the human body. The integumentary system is made up of the person's skin, hair, and nails. And here you go, folks. Lots of videos explaining more about these topics. Come back later and watch these, take more notes, or pause this and take a look at a few now. All right, let's do some practice questions. Number 1, when a group of cells work together, such as bones, muscles, or nerves, they are known as organelles, an organism, a tissue, or an organ. So pause this and think about it on your own. When a group of cells work together, such as bones, muscles, or nerves, they are known as a tissue. So C. Tissues include bone, blood, nerves, muscles, and skin. Remember, in the cell organization, it went from cell to tissue to organs to organ system. All right, number 2, the above diagram shows the process of fertilization and cell specialization. Which of the following statements is implied by the diagram? So go ahead and pause this, read it over, and see what you think. All right, if we look at A, specialized cells such as bone cells, skin cells, red blood cells, and muscle cells cannot be produced from a single cell. You could probably cross that one off because if you look at the diagram, you've got your sperm and your egg, and you've got this cell producing bone cells, red blood cells, skin cells, and muscle cells. So that's going to cross off A. B, since all of the cells in an individual organism come from a single cell, they must be identical. Okay, are these identical cells? They come from the same cell? No, they're different types of cells. So we can cross off B. C, specialized cells are produced immediately following fertilization or the fusion of a sperm cell with an egg cell. So up top, you've got the sperm and the egg in fertilization, and then you've got all these extra steps here before they can become this specialized cell. Okay, so it's not immediate, so we can cross off C. All right, so let's look at D. Even though all cells in an individual organism come from a single cell, okay, they can specialize into different types of cells. Ding, ding, ding. So D would be the answer. Number 3, a bird flies by moving its wings up and down. Which two systems are most directly responsible for the movement of a bird's wings? So pause this and see what you think. All right, the skeletal and muscular systems, so C, are responsible for movement of a bird's wings. The bones of the skeletal system act as the frame for the wing, and muscles are attached to the bones and cause the movement of the bones by contracting. Number 4, blank are the basic building blocks of all living organisms: organs, tissues, organ systems, or cells. All right, we could order these 4 choices from smallest to largest. Remember your cell organization. So you'd start with cells, and then tissues, and then organs, and then organ systems. And if you remember, it's cells that are the basic building blocks of all living organisms. Remember, cells contain smaller specialized structures called organelles, which carry out specific functions in the cell. Number 5, a group of tissues working together is an organ, a cell, a compound, or an organelle. All right, a group of tissues working together is an organ. So A, organs include bones, skin, the heart, the brain. So just remember the cell organization from smallest to largest, and it can help you answer these. Number 6, multicellular organisms are composed of a variety of living structures that are formed when cells differentiate. How could the living structure pictured below be classified? Is it a cell, an organ, a tissue, or an organism? Okay, so this picture shows a human heart. Okay, and if you know, a heart was an example of an organ, so that would be B. Last question, number 7. Blood flowing through the human circulatory system moves nutrients and oxygen to cells and carries wastes and carbon dioxide away from cells. How are the circulatory system and the respiratory system related in humans? So pause this, read it over, and see what you think. Okay, so in humans, the circulatory system and the respiratory system are interrelated because the respiratory system provides oxygen to the heart. So it's going to be A. The respiratory system takes in oxygen, which diffuses into blood so it can be spread throughout the body by the circulatory system. The circulatory system also removes carbon dioxide from cells and returns the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. All right, friends, after you fully cover the topic of cell structures and functions, you should be able to create or analyze models that show the structural organization of multicellular organisms. You should explain how cells are the smallest unit of life, how cells make up tissues, how tissues make up organs, how organs make up organ systems, and how organ systems make up multicellular organisms. So, I challenge you to create a project, a presentation, an experiment, and show your teacher that you can explain this. Build a model of a cell, label its parts, make it edible so you can eat it afterwards. It'll be great.